Hi, morning everyone. Welcome to episode 35 of the Knitting Expat Podcast. Today that I'm recording is Saturday the 7th of November, but I'm probably going to be putting this episode up a day early, probably go up tomorrow afternoon at some point. So Sunday. Hi, my name is Mina. Welcome to the Knitting Expat Podcast. Thank you for joining me today. If you are a new viewer, I hope you enjoy what you see. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. If you are a returning viewer and this isn't your first time watching, you probably know this is not my usual location. I am currently in the US and this is sort of towards the end of our trip now. And I'm in New York, which is great. And I've been having a great time so far on this trip. My husband is studying a part-time MBA degree, so he travels quite a bit for his studies at the moment, which I've talked about before, but I'm not going to bore you again because that's not what you're here for. I do apologise if the video this week is ever so slightly shaky every now and again. I have my recording set up rather precariously set up on the bed because it's the only space I have really to do this in the hotel room. And so I have my little handheld luggage case, the box that the hotel provides tea in, and then a folder on top of that, all like carefully balanced to hold up my phone so I can record today. I'm going to try and remember to look at the camera as much as possible, so yeah, I've never really been that great at that. And if I look down, it's because I've got my show notes on my laptop in front of me. So, yes, so places you can find me. You can find me on Ravelry as Mina86. We have a podcast group on Ravelry, which is Knitting Expat Podcast. You can find show notes for this and all previous episodes at knittingexpat.wordpress.com. And you can find me on Instagram as Mina Phillip. And I also sell project bags on Etsy as Mina Makes. So you can find me there for that. I do link all the places you can find me below the video on YouTube, in the episode thread on Ravelry, on the podcast group's homepage on Ravelry, and in the show notes. So wherever you are watching this, you should be able to find links to the other places that you can find me. I just want to say thank you, first off, really quickly to everyone who commented on last week's episode thread, answering the question that I posed about ease in garments and in socks. And it was very interesting to read some of your tips and suggestions, and a couple of people had similar suggestions, but most of the suggestions people had made were either new to me or a variation on something that I already did, which was very interesting to hear about. So if you are struggling or are interested in learning more about how to calculate for ease, or just a different way of going about it, make sure you check out that episode thread. There are some really good comments, some really good tips in that thread, so be sure to check that out. I also want to say I am so behind on podcasts at the moment. It is insane. I don't know what happened this last week. Everyone seems to have come back to podcasting after like autumn or something. I don't know what it was, but I had over 45 podcast episodes that I was behind on, and I've now managed to catch up on some of them, and I have still got about 35 to watch. So slowly but surely working my way through them. I'm thinking I'm probably going to end up watching podcasts the whole flight back, just to try and catch up on them. But I found something that works pretty well for me at the moment is watching them at 150% speed. You can do this on YouTube. You can adjust the settings at the bottom of the video to increase the speed that the video is played back at, so it's sort of played back faster than regular. And for the most part that works. That actually works fine usually. You can still understand everything they say. It's not going so fast that it sounds like gibberish, but it just goes faster, and so it means that hour-long episode only takes like 40 minutes. So it, it just means you can squeeze in that little bit more. And yeah, so most people tend to speak slow enough that if you increase their speed to 150%, it still sounds fine. Yeah, so that's a little tip from me to you today on how to catch up if you're falling behind in your podcasts. Right, and just quickly before we move on, I am wearing my Marco Polo cardigan that I finished a while ago. Oh, jeez, I'm so sorry about the shaky camera. I really hope this doesn't make anyone feel sick. Yeah, so I've been wearing this quite a bit. This and my Stripes Gone Crazy cardigan were really the only two cardigans I brought with me on this trip, so I've been wearing them a lot. And I'm thinking probably next week, once I'm back in Bahrain and I've sort of washed and cleaned everything again, I will, I think I'll do a bit of an update on how these are wearing, because like I said, I haven't really worn these much before. Like, I've worn them around the house, well, less so this one because I only just finished it, but with the other cardigan and my socks and stuff, like I don't really wear them in shoes when I'm at home because it's too hot, and I don't really wear my knitwear out of the house that often, occasionally at the cinema, but that'd be about it. So I think it would be good to do a bit of a, see how they've held up after being worn quite a lot over the last week once I get back, just to see what's held up, what's wearing, what's pilling, what's not. I thought it might be interesting for some of you, because I have had questions about how my hand knits have been holding up. So right, so this week I'm going to start with finished objects, works in progress, a little bit of an update on the knit along that we've got going, some very quick shop news, acquisitions, and a bit of a weekend review, which is going to be just a recap of my holiday so far, of my trip. So starting with finished objects, the first things that I finished were, actually I brought 9 projects with me on this trip, and I think I'm doing pretty well. The first 2 I actually finished on the flight over here, and the first one is this, and this is the Beezy hat pattern. Let's see if I've got the name of the designer here, by Katrin Schubert. It was a free pattern when I got it off Ravelry, and I assumed it was always going to be a free pattern. There didn't seem to be anything on there. Someone said to me that it's now a paid for pattern, but I haven't actually checked, so this may or may not still be a free pattern on Ravelry. It's a brioche hat pattern, so it's fully reversible. It's on the inside. I did make a couple of mistakes early on, which by the time I noticed I'd gone past them and didn't want to rip back. But you can see there and there where I didn't carry the yarn correctly. So, I mean, it is fully reversible, it's just got those 2 little bits there, which doesn't bother me all that much. I'll put it on to show you. It's a nice fit. I did knit this. I knit the smallest size, and I don't have the smallest size head, but I know brioche is a very stretchy stitch, and I didn't want this to be too slouchy of a hat. I wanted a nice fitted, warm hat, because I imagine I'm going to wear this quite a bit when we go to Iceland. And I'll show you quickly the yarn that I used. The yarn I used is Lion Brand Collection, their Angora Merino. So this is from their LB collection, which is their luxury line of yarns, and I don't believe you can buy their luxury brand of yarns in like the regular stores where you buy Lion Brand yarn, like Michael's and stuff, but you can get it online from Lion Brand or in their own stores. So I got this from the store in New York, the Lion Brand studio. I have quite a bit left over, and I'm tempted to do a pom-pom for this. What are your thoughts? I don't have proper scissors to cut to make the pom-pom while I'm here, so I haven't done it yet. But I'm thinking either a yellow or a grey, or just doing a mixed pom-pom with the 2 would be quite fun for that. And that was knit. I knit this on 3.25mm needles. Again, the pattern called for 3.5, which I didn't have in the 16-inch circular, and I didn't want to do it on magic loop, so 3.25 it was. I love how this tat turned out. It was a lot of fun to do, and actually really quick once I got into it. And yeah, so that was the first thing I finished on the flight. Just move that stuff out of the way. And the next project that I finished whilst we were still on the plane is my sockhead hat. So this is what I'm calling my swirling rainbow sock head, and this was knit on 2.75mm needles. I'm trying to forget the details here. Oh, sorry, this is by Kate Schubert. The Beezy hat pattern, I don't know who the designer is for that one. It's not written on the pattern, I don't think. That's why I didn't know. And I haven't looked it up yet, but I'll link it in the show notes. And yeah, so the sock head hat is by Kate Schubert. I'm sorry about that. I didn't cast on as many stitches as the pattern. I cast on 120 stitches on 2.75 for the brim. Then I went up to 3mm in the body of the hat. I love how this flashed up the side like this. It started at the bottom by doing like a full swirl all the way around, and then it started pulling along here, zigzagging, and it moved across a bit and kept zigzagging, and then as I started the decreases, it swirled back round this way all the way up to the top. And I really like the crown decreases on this one, it's quite fun. And I'll pop this on to show you. And none of my projects that I'm showing you, finished objects, have been blocked, because I just haven't had the time to do that. And that's how this one turned out. I really like it. It's only I didn't do it as slouchy as the pattern. I only did it slightly slouchy, but I can still pull it down and cuff it. There you go. And get more of a beanie out of it. Well, I just need to adjust that a bit more, but you get the idea. And I have enough. I'm sorry, this is Lemonade Shop. It'd be good if I held it the right way up, wouldn't it? The Lemonade Shop in Stormy Day. So it's the grey with the rainbow stripe in it. And this is one I picked up from Gauge Intention when I was here in September. So it's nice to like dig into new stuff. And so was the Lion Brand yarn I picked up when I was here back in New York in September. And I have quite a significant amount of yarn left over, which I'm really happy about. I think I used about half for the hat. I need to double check the weight of how much I've got left. So I am planning on making some Rose City rollers for myself out of these, out of the leftovers. My next finished object is an adaptation of a pattern. It's the adaptation of the Cotton Lace Ponchette pattern, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. Again, I don't know who's designed this because the pattern doesn't have the designer's name on it. But I knit the ponchette for my mum a while ago now, back in May, out of some Drops Baby Alpaca Silk. And recently my mum said that she would like a matching scarf or cowl to go with it because it's getting quite cold now, and she the top of the ponchette's open, so she wanted something to go around her neck that matches. So I said okay. So I took the ponchette pattern and I made a scarf out of it. And again, this has not been blocked. I haven't woven in the ends yet, so the points are all curling up at the moment, but they will lay flat once it's done. And I did 30 points in the end. And what I've done is I did a garter section at the beginning and at the end. And I put buttonholes in the one at the end. Sorry. I put buttonholes in the one at the end, and you can see I only just ended up, I had 4 balls of the yarn wound double, so 8 balls really, and only just like cut into the last ball to get this to the right length. I mean, I could have kept going, but it would have been really, really long. So this is the type of the yarn, Drops Baby Alpaca Silk. This is colour 3609, which is the red. I believe they only have one red in the line, so it's red. And I'm going to pair it up with these buttons that Sam from Lavender Loom sent me. Sorry, I dropped it. Let's see if I can show you better. It's not going to focus. Anyway, and I haven't attached these yet because they have a little metal wire that attached them to the paper, and I don't have any wire cutters and I can't unpick them on their own, so I haven't been able to attach the buttons yet. But those will be going on. So this can either be worn as a scarf, numerous ways, or my mum can button it up and wear it as a cowl. But either way, it'll be nice and warm because of the alpaca and the silk, which is ridiculously warm. And she loves the ponchette. She wears it all the time, so this will be a nice pairing for that. And the last finished object I have to show you are a pair of socks that I knit for gifts. And I'm pretty sure these are going to be socks for my auntie Lida in London for Christmas. I mean, I'm knitting everyone's socks, so. And yeah, I really like how these turned out. I actually made an effort to get these to match for my aunt because she's quite a particular lady. She's very sweet, but she likes things to be like neat and tidy and done properly, so I made the effort to make sure these matched. I really like how they turned out. I really like the toe. The whole way through, I think my stripes were less than half a row different from each other. But as I got to the decreases, that was where it started to make more of a difference, because as you're decreasing the stitches, that difference between the two gets bigger. So you can see one has more pink in the toe, tip of the toe, than the other. But it's fine, it's not really that noticeable, and they are pretty much a perfect match the whole way through, which is great. And I really like how these turned out. These were really quick. Oh, and I did a contrast heel in this green because I didn't want to break up the stripe. These were really quick to knit. I cast on, so I got to Boston on Tuesday evening, so I cast these on Tuesday like late afternoon, early evening, and I cast them off. I finished them on, when was it, Thursday night? So literally 2 days and an evening to knit this. So yeah, quick, easy, knit on 2.25mm needles, which I think is a US 1. Yeah, pretty good. Oh, and the ponchette, I knit that on 3.75mm needles, which is a US 5. If I forget to mention the US sizes, I do put that in the show notes, so you can check there if you need to know. And the yarn I used for this is this German brand, Wool Butt of Rona, and the colourway number 3877, and it's this sort of striping. And the contrast heel is this green, which is Lime Brand Sockies in green apple, which I bought a handful of solid colour sock yarns like Lime Brand and Regia to use for contrast heels and toes, or I guess just contrast heels for the most part, because I find it's quite easy to match like a solid colour with a striping or variegated yarn. So that's all my finished objects. That's 4 out of 9 projects I brought with me. I have a design project, which is one of the 9 that I brought with me, which I'm not going to be showing you today. So that'll be the 5th one. I'm hoping that'll be finished before we go back, or I'll finish it on the plane. And I cast on 3 new projects. So that's 4 done, 1 almost done, and then 3 cast on. So that'll be 8 projects that I'll have worked on, if not have finished. And the 9th one was really just a last backup, just in case I'd finished everything else, which I really didn't think I would. Sorry about the sniffles, this is terrible. AC and me just don't mix. Right, so moving on to works in progress. I obviously don't have my Cozy Memories blanket with me to show you, and plus I haven't worked on it, so there's nothing to show you there. The first new project that I cast on is in one of my Mina Makes little tally drawstring bags, and this is another hat. This is the 3rd hat pattern I brought with me, and this is the 16 Cables hat by Cersei Bells B. I think that's her name on Ravelry, and Cersei Bells Boucle. That's the hat pattern, the 16 cable hat, which I love cables and I love big chunky cables, and she gifted me this pattern, so thank you so much, Celine. And I'm knitting this out of Malabrigo worsted in the Uva colourway. So This is a single ply worsted weight yarn. And this is where I am. Don't know how well you're going to be able to see that. Oh geez, that's terrible. Okay, you can't see it very well because it's quite dark yarn, and I've not got the best lighting. You can just about tell that, you know, I've done the first cable twist, and there are 4 in the whole pattern, I think, in the regular version, but I'm doing the larger size, a larger of the 2 sizes that she has in the pattern, which she says is more of a beret style, which I think will be quite fun. I've not really done a beret before. And yeah, and I haven't decided if I'm going to keep this or gift it. I might, my aunt Lisa really likes purple, so I might gift this to her, depending on how it turns out. So we'll see. I'm really enjoying that, and it'll be nice, easy travel knitting as well, because the cable rows aren't that frequent. The next project that I cast on, and all of these I cast on yesterday because I got here and I'd pretty finished everything. All I had to work on was my design project, which I can't show you. So I cast everything on that I'm showing you now last night. And the next project I'm working on is another pair of socks. This is for my uncle, so my aunt's husband. Not working today. And this is out of some Osterman Step yarn, and it's like the shades of brown. It's sort of self-striping. It's colorway 12 0012, and this is how far I got. I've done the ribbing. I'll show you the size, but that's messy. I've just literally done the cuffs, done the ribbing, 2x2 ribbing. I cast on 68 stitches and on 2.25mm needles. And this is the yarn all kicked up. If you're interested, that's what it looks like. Yeah. And my uncle has quite large feet, similar size to Perry's, so I'm using his cutout foot as my template to make his socks. And this is in a really fun Sock Monkey project bag because I thought the colours kind of matched. And this was one that I showed you last week that was sent to me in a package by a lovely viewer. So thank you very much. And I really like it. It's a lot of fun. And the last project I cast on is in another Mina Makes project bag, which I had used for another hat before, for the Busy hat. And now it is hosting yet another pair of socks. And this is for my cousin who lives in London. So my aunt's son. And I literally only just cast these on last night. I knit a few rows, as you can see, and then Perry got back and he just wanted to crash out and go to bed. So I didn't get much more knit on this. I was hoping to get the cuffs finished last night, but didn't happen, which is fine. I'll probably work on this a little bit while I edit the video. And yeah, and these are being knit on 2.5mm needles. I think they're like Addy lace. And just grab the tag. This is this yarn. Don't know how well you can see that. It is Patterns Croy Socks FX, and this is in the chambray colours. So shades of blue and brown. Nice manly colours, which I think will be fine for my cousin. And that's it for all my works in progress. Those 3 are what I'm currently working on, and I'm hoping to have at least, you know, get a couple of them finished by the time we're back in Bahrain. Yeah, and I pretty much, as standard, if I didn't mention it, and I don't think I did, as standard I use the Fish Lips Conceal for all my socks, and I use 20 row cuff, either 2x2 ribbing or 1x1 twisted rib, and I use a rounded toe. That is pretty much my standard go-to for socks. Yeah, so if I didn't mention that, I'm sorry, but that is what I do. Oh, sorry, I just needed to stretch my leg. Right, moving on to knit along news. We are currently in the middle of the Vida Cal, so that is for my Vida range of patterns. There's the shawl, the hat, and the socks, and you can knit any of those, and you'll be eligible for prizes if you enter into the Chatter and FO thread is just one thread for chatter and finished objects. If you were a tester for one of my shawls, you can enter your finished object for prices as well. And yeah, so that is going on at the moment, currently running until the end of the year. There are like quite a few projects in the people like showing off their projects at the moment, some really beautiful socks and shawls and stuff going on, so I'm really excited to see your finished objects. And you have plenty of time to jump in. I am thinking of extending the deadline to the end of January at the moment, but I'm not sure. I'll wait and see nearer the time. If people would like me to extend it, let me know and I will think about doing that. So yeah, there will be prizes. I have a couple of pattern donations for prizes, and I will be donating a project bag myself and probably some yarn, so we will see. I haven't fully decided what the prizes are going to be yet, but I will announce those nearer the time, and it will also depend on the number of entries as well. So so if you are interested in taking part, you can find all the rules and rules for entry on the thread, the VidaCal thread in the group. And if you want to donate a prize for this knit along or any future knit along, then please let me know. We can sort something out. So that's that. As for shop news, the shop's been on hiatus whilst I've been away, but it will either be back up live by the time this video has gone live or a couple of days after. And I believe I have 4 bags left at the moment, 4 of my Christmas bags left. So those are going to be on sale for the next, up until the 18th of November, between now-ish and the 18th of November. Those will be on sale. You won't need a coupon code. I'm just going to discount the prices because then I'm going to be away until just before Christmas. So I want those Christmas bags to go to a loving home before Christmas time so people can use them. And so yeah, so those are going to be on sale, and I will just put the sale prices up, so you won't need a coupon code to get those. So make sure you check that out. And now I think it's time for some acquisitions, because I have quite a few things to show you. I don't actually have the stuff that I bought from Fiberspace to show you right now, because that's already packed in my suitcase and it's right at the bottom and I didn't want to dig it out. But I have most of everything else to show you. So first things first, I'll show you the first non-yarny related thing that I got yesterday. I was walking around Manhattan yesterday after I got here to go visit some fabric shops, and on my way I spotted this guy was selling some prints on the street corner, and he was selling them for like $1 each, so I stopped to have a look. And I was like, you know what, I know these are just like printed copies, they're not original pieces or anything, but they're actually quite nice quality prints, and they're nicely mounted in mounts, so they're ready to be framed or just hung on the wall as is. And I thought, you know what, for $1 each, it's not really going to break the bank, even if they don't last for very long, which I think they probably will. So I picked up 2. The first one I picked up is this print of Times Square, which I really like, because I mean, we stay in Times Square when we come now, although I have to say we don't stay in Times Square out of choice. It is where part of the fees that we pay for Perry's course is that they put him up in a hotel where when he comes to New York and goes to London. So we stay in Times Square, so I figure it's actually quite nice to have this print. And I noticed actually after I got it that right here, that's the old sign for the hotel that we stay in, so I thought that was really fun. And then the second print I picked up was this one, this really autumnal scene of the Empire State Building, which I really liked, and I liked that it was autumn because that's when we're here. So those were the 2 prints. I'm quite happy with them, and like I said, they're in nice mounts, so I figure if nothing else, these would be just nice to hang up at home. Next up, I have the contents of this bag, which I have to tell you, I did not purchase any of this that's in here. These are all things that were incredibly kindly gifted to me since I've been here. And honestly, I'm just overwhelmed by everyone's generosity and just everyone being so sweet. So I guess I should briefly talk about this. I was going to talk about this in the week in review section, but I did when I was we were in Alexandria, Washington DC area at the beginning of our trip. As if you follow me on Instagram or have watched my previous episodes, you'll have heard me talk about this. And I went to Fiberspace, which is in Alexandria, and I met up with Tanya of the Sampler Girl, Emily of Fibertown, and her adorable little puppy Alice. It was not really a puppy, but she's just so cute. And a couple of other lovely viewers. I met up with Lucy, who's Tanya's mum, and there was Julia and Lara, who I've chatted with a bit on Instagram and on Ravelry, so I was really happy to see everyone. And I don't want to give Lara and Julia's online names, as it were, because I'm not sure if they wanted me to mention them or not, but so I'll just use their first names. And then we also, after we went to Fiberspace, I went round to Nancy's house, and Nancy is a friend of Tanya and Lucy, who I actually met Lucy and Nancy in London back in May. Anyway, so we went round to Nancy's for lunch, and she's an amazing cook. And she also made these little ginger snap biscuits. Sorry for the crinkling. And she also made these little cards, which are really cute. And she gave me 2 packs actually, one for Perry and one for me. So I've been very good and not tucked into mine yet, because I wanted to show you guys how beautifully packaged these were. But Perry's pretty much already finished his, and he said they were very delicious. So thank you very much, Nancy. And then Julia, who is incredibly sweet, very, very sweet viewer, she gifted me some yarn. She didn't get me just 1 or 2 or 3, but 4 skeins of Pants Croy Socks FX in the clover colours, which I really love. This was actually one of my favourite colourways. So now I have 4 balls of it, so enough for 2 pairs of socks, or 1 pair of really long socks, which I think is so much fun. I really love these colours, the oranges and the greens and bits of red and yellow in there. Really, really fun. So thank you so much, Julia. That was so kind of you. I really loved it. Oh, I've got to show you this. So Nancy, as well as the ginger snap cookies, also got me some soap. Let's dig this out. Sorry about the rustling. It is what it is. It's this beautiful bar of soap, and it smells incredible. It's by Ulster Soaps, handmade artisan soaps and gifts, and they have an Etsy shop which is Ulster Soaps, and this one is in the lemon poppy scent, which smells amazing. Yeah, just beautiful. Thank you so much. Sorry. Then Emily of Fibertown brought along a big bag of minis with her and let me have a little rummage. And I felt bad because I didn't actually bring my bag of minis to Fiberspace. I completely forgot to take them with me. So Emily, I think I owe you a few little minis I need to send you. Yeah, so she let me have a little rummage around, and I picked out 4 little minis. This was the first one I picked. Well, so actually no, the first one I picked up was this one. It's Knitterly Things in the Vespa Sock Rainbow Love. It's like the first thing I saw as soon as I opened the little bag. I was like, yep, I'm taking that one. And then there was this one, which is beautifully speckled yarn, and I can't remember what she said this one was, or if she told me what it was. I can't remember. And there was this lovely blue, tonally blue, and this one, which was really fun. I picked this up, and this one, she said, I believe, if I remember correctly, is Dragonfly Fibres in the Starry Night colourway, which I think is beautiful. So thank you, Emily. It's so sweet. Love. Can't wait to get those added to the blanket. Then Lucy who's like literally the sweetest person ever, got me some really lovely things. There's some tea in here, which I haven't opened the package yet, but I really like the little paper bag, it's so adorable. And she got me a really nice card. Oh, and Julia also wrote me a really lovely card as well. And she got me this little notepad, which I love notepads. Notebooks and notepads and stuff are like my favourite thing. And it's got all these cute, it's got little cute cartoons in it. So I really like this one on the cover. It's like, I was a dog in a previous life, but I came back as a god, which I think is adorable. And there's loads of little funny ones in there. And thank you so much for that. She also got me, Lucy and Tanya and Nancy went to Rhinebeck this year. And so Lucy got me a little pin from Rhinebeck. Oh, she's trying to not get the glare. The New York State Sheep and Wool Festival, which I really like the logo this year, so I'm really happy I got the little pin. And then to top it all off, as if all of that was not enough, she got me some beautiful, beautiful yarn. And this is the Sophie Toes sock yarn. It's 100% superwash merino fingering weight, 400 yards, and the colourway is called Rhinebeck Twilight. How beautiful is that? I totally love this skein. It's totally my colours. Bright and rainbow colourful. And I saw that Tanya, who does the Knitting Spring podcast, who I'm going to be seeing later today, she also got the same colourway, but in the worsted weight from the same dye. So that's really fun. I have no idea what that's going to be, but it will be something fun. And that's the yarny stuff. I'll just pop some of this back in the bag so I can clear up some space here in front of me. Yeah, that was just totally unexpected. I never expect anyone to get me anything. I always just, yeah, I always get really surprised when people give me stuff, because I'm like, why? Why are you giving me things? Anyway, so yesterday, so thank you so much, ladies, that was so sweet of you. And yesterday, after getting to Manhattan, I was like, okay, I knew I wanted to go buy some fabric while I was here. I've kind of been getting the urge to get back to my sewing machine now, so, which is good because I've taken quite a break from it for various reasons, that some of which I haven't shared. And I think I'm going to be sharing those reasons. Anyway, moving on. I knew I wanted to get some fabric while I was here, so I was going to go to the City Quilter, and I did go to the City Quilter, but on my way, I thought I just went for a walk, basically. I walked the whole way yesterday. I went down to B&J Fabrics, which is about 10 blocks from my hotel, and then I went on to the City Quilter, which is another 12 blocks from B&J Fabrics, so 22 blocks total there each way. So I walked there and back, which was fun, and it was my first time going to B&J Fabrics, and they gave me this cute little bag, which I'm probably going to give to my mum because she uses bags like this for her lunches when she takes to work. And I picked up 3 different prints while I was there. I've done all the receipt. Oh, and I just realised they folded them up inside out, so just give me a second, I can show you them. So this was the first print I picked up, really bright polka dots, like paint splodges, which I really love. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, yes, I have to have that. And I'm not sure if that's going to be an outer fabric or a lining fabric, but fun either way. Then I picked up this one, which is a little different for me, but again, I still really quite liked the print. Try to do this without messing up the fabric too much. Okay, that's not going to work. That's the print. So like city buildings and big flowers and slightly more abstract, which I quite liked and I thought was interesting, and I like the way the colours played together on that one, which again is a bit more different than my usual. Sorry. Alright, I'll sort that out later. And the last one I picked up from there is this print, again, which I thought was really quite interesting and is very much my colour palette at the moment, purples and blues and greens, which I really like. So these will be project bags of some description at some point in the future. Just fold this back up so I can put it away. Nowhere near as neat and tidy as the guys who did this at the store. Yeah, so those are the 3 prints I picked up there. And it always surprises me how heavy fabric is. Which for me on this trip is not a problem. I have plenty of weight space. For me, problem is physical space. Oh, and I totally forgot to show this earlier. So whilst we were at Fiberspace, I'm jumping around all over the place now. Whilst we were at Fiberspace, Lucy, so Tanya's mum, had like their app or something, and she'd won a free tote bag, which she very kindly gave to me. And I think this is awesome. It's huge, it's massive, and it's beautiful. And yeah, so thank you so much. And it's really good sort of like thick canvas fabric, which is going to be very handy. Right, so back to yesterday. So I went to the City Quilter, which I really like. It was the only fabric shop I went to last time I was here, and I knew I wanted to go back. So one of the things that I would really like to do and sort of try my hand at is quilting. So I thought I would, you know, start easy and just go for a couple of charm square packs. So I picked up 2 packs of this TikTok by Moda. It's actually a new line of fabrics, which there's some really fun prints in here. So I'll show you some of them, and they're sort of slightly different to my usual colour palette, but I do quite like this palette of colours, and I like how they all work together. That's kind of why I thought I'd go for a charm square pack, because they're all so all the fabrics from a line of prints, so they all coordinate together perfectly, so there's no real thinking that has to go into trying to match up different prints when you're buying separately. So I got 2 charm square packs to do up a little quilt with that and see how I like it. And then I spotted they only had 1 of these, otherwise I probably would have gotten 2. It's a slightly more thicker jumbo pack of polka dots, rainbow polka dots. Again, more pastel colours, but I might do this for like a baby or something at some point with one of our friends who has a kid or something at some point. Like bits of fabric everywhere. But yeah, so those were quite fun, and I thought give those a try. Then onto the actual fabrics, and I saw this and I was sort of umming and ahhing about whether or not to get it, and did I want it for project bags or something, because I really love this print. I thought it was really beautiful. Then as I was at the cutting table, I was chatting to the lady who works there, who was cutting the fabrics for me, and she was saying that this would be really beautiful for a dress, and I was saying this, I thought the same thing. I think this would be beautiful for like a sleeveless sort of like summer style, nice and easy sort of knee length, or just above the knee length dress. And she was saying, you know, because it's a quilting shop, so I didn't really think there would be many garment knitters there, and sewers there. But she said she primarily sews garments. So I asked her, because I hadn't walked in there with the intention of buying fabric for garments, I asked her how much she thought I would need to make a dress for myself. Sleeveless, maximum knee length. And she was a similar height to me. And she was saying that, you know, 3 yards would do it. So I bought 4 to be safe. So I bought 4 yards of this fabric to attempt to make a dress for myself. And I've made a couple of dresses for myself already, but one was out of jersey fabric and one was out of it wasn't jersey, but it wasn't cotton either. It didn't have much stretch to it, but I'm interested to give this a go at some point. So I have 4 yards of this beautiful print that I would like to turn into a dress of some kind. So if you have any thoughts, please let me know. I'd be interested if you have any suggestions for good beginner patterns that aren't too complicated to follow. I'd like to give that a go. Anyway, then I did pick up some fabric for bags. I picked up this print, which I really liked as soon as I saw it. Again, this is a new range of fabrics they had in. It's basically star signs, it's astrological star signs, which I thought was beautiful. And I don't really ever put much stock into like astrology and stuff like that, but I do really like, I always liked learning about it when I was younger, and I always found it quite fascinating. So yeah, so that would be quite fun for project bags, I think. And then I spotted this, and I'm pretty sure I've seen at least one other bag maker using this print for project bags. And usually I try to stay away from prints that I've seen other bag makers use, because I'm like, well, I want to offer something different. But I saw this and I was just like, I don't care if anyone else has used this to make project bags that they sell, because I really love this print and I have to have it. Yep, kitty cats. Cute little kitty cats. And I have to say, the lady at the store who was cutting my fabric for me is the worst enabler ever, because we were chatting about cats and I was saying how I'd been looking for some really cute cat prints and I hadn't really been able to find any. And then she said, oh, we have this this lovely line of Japanese printed fabrics with cats on them. Do you want to go have a look? Do I want to go have a look? Of course I want to go have a look. And then I picked up 2 of them to get. And this first one, I absolutely love it. They had a couple of different variations with different coloured backgrounds, but I had to go for the purple because I'm a purple girl. And I mean, look at that. Look at those little cute little black cats, and they just remind me of Derek. Especially, let me fold this up so I can show you better. Especially in that position. That is totally what Derek does all the time. He sleeps like that sometimes, and he's just so adorable, and I couldn't not get this. So I picked up some of this for project bags, and then I picked up this one. Oh, that's upside down. And before you say anything, yes, the print is actually printed crooked. I was asking, I noticed as she was cutting it, and she was like, yeah, it's printed that way. It's intentionally printed crooked. And look at that, the little kitty cat peeking out. Again, reminds me of Derek. And he's there again. Little cat bum and cat tail, and it's just so adorable. And little kitty cat there. I love this. And again, they had another version, I think, which had more reds in it. But I've very much been in the purple and green mode. If you notice, real theme with my fabric choices at the moment. Anyway, so that's what I picked up. Picked up way more fabric than I actually intended to. I was only going to pick up 3, and I ended up walking out with 4 project bags, 1 lot of fabric for a dress, and some charm squares, which were never on my list of things I wanted to get yesterday, I mean. But I did, and I'm happy I did. I'm really, really happy with these fabrics, and I'm looking forward to getting to work with them soon. So I'm glad I've got my, what's the word for it? I'm feeling inspired again to get back to sewing, which is really nice. I was kind of, yeah, anyway, moving on. I'm feeling really good about getting back to that soon. And that is it for acquisitions. So if you are only here for the knitty stuff and all of that, that is now finished. So thank you so much for joining me. If that is all you are here for, that is absolutely fine. This next section is my week in review, which is probably just going to be a recap of everything. It's not probably, it is just going to be a recap of everything I've been up to this last week whilst I've been away. So if you are not interested in hearing about that, which is perfectly fine, you don't have to be interested in what goes on in my life outside of knitting, but if you are interested in hearing about that, then please stay tuned. And if not, thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again next time. Right, so moving on to the week in review, I will put it out there very quickly at first that I have taken some random video clips as we've been out and about on this trip, and I will be putting them in the sorry, the notification popped up. I will be putting them together at the end of this video clip, at the end of this video, so you can stay tuned at the end for that little clip. So starting off with, we had our flight was from Bahrain to Washington DC via Doha. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the geography of the Middle East, Doha is actually, so you've got, I think the best way to describe this, Bahrain, Doha, and then DC way over here. So you actually go backwards to then go forwards. But because we were flying with Qatar Airways, you have a layover in Doha anyway, because that's where they're based. And our flight from Bahrain to Doha was at 5 a.m, but it's a really short flight. It's literally 30 minutes. You take off, and by the time the seatbelt sign comes off, 2 minutes later, the pilot comes on to say, okay, now we're getting ready to land. Let's go back to your seats. You don't really get much time. But that was fine, and we had a short layover in Doha Airport, which is a new airport in Doha. It's not the one that we flew into last time when we went there, but it was very confusing. The signage wasn't the clearest. We got stuck in an elevator that refused to open on the floor we were trying to get off at, and there's some really strange sculptures in that airport. Anyway, we weren't there that long, and we then got on our flight, which was a 14-hour direct flight from Doha to DC, which really did feel like a long flight by the end of it. I ended up watching something ridiculous, like 7 movies on that plane. Perry did manage to get some sleep, more so than I did. Every time I was in the aisle, so every time I fell asleep, I would feel Perry moving, and I'd suddenly wake up thinking, okay, he's waking up and he may want to get up, so I should wake up in case he needs to get out. No, he was just shifting or something, but he slept for a good portion of the flight. I think he slept for about 4 hours. I may have gotten some broken bits and naps here and there, but not much. But I did get a lot of knitting done, so I guess it wasn't all terrible. We got to where we were staying in DC. We were actually staying at one of Perry's classmates' homes in near Old Town in Alexandria. He was the one who actually organised the itinerary for that weekend and was sort of like planning that trip. So we managed to bag his spare room and stay with him and his wife. It was really good. We went out for dinner that first night, and I got to meet a bunch of the other students from Perry's class who were also on this trip. And that was really nice to finally get to meet them all. I heard so much about some of them, and a couple of them are coming to Iceland with us at the end of the year, so it was really nice to get to meet them beforehand and get to know them a little bit better. And yeah, and then Saturday morning, most of the group went to Mount Vernon. They were going on a trip up to Mount Vernon, and Perry and I decided to skip that. Not because we weren't interested in going to see Mount Vernon, but because we knew we weren't going to have a lot of free time whilst we were there, because there was quite a packed itinerary for our trip, and we decided to take the morning and just explore Alexandria on our own and go for a little wander. We walked the entire length of King Street, probably 2.5 times, went back and forth a couple of times, went all the way down to the waterfront and just had a little look around. There was little coffee shops and other little cute stores and things we popped into. It was really nice actually, because on the walk down it was still early enough that none of the shops had opened. The shops don't open till 10 and we were there around 9, so on the walk down to the waterfront everything was closed, and on the way back everything had opened up, so that was really fun. And yeah, and then in the afternoon we went to the Air and Space Museum out near the airport. I know there's one actually in DC, downtown DC, but we went to the other one, the bigger one by near Dulles Airport, and that was really interesting to hear about the history behind some of the planes and stuff out there that they have as exhibits. And Saturday evening was Halloween, so we all got dressed up, and those of us who didn't bring any costumes with us, Dave, who we were staying with, provided costumes for everyone, and so we bagsied the sombreros and mustaches. And yeah, so that was a lot of fun, and we ended up going along Lee Street in Old Town, and they really take Halloween seriously on Lee Street. It's no joke. The whole street is shut down to car traffic, and it is literally crammed with people, just people and their kids trick-or-treating from house to house. Dave was telling us if you move to Lee Street, then it is, you know that Halloween you need to be home. You can't go anywhere. It was ridiculous. It was totally, the street was all decked out for Halloween. The homes were all decked out. everyone was so dressed up and so like really into it. We saw a family of minions. They were literally from the mother and father down to the kids and the little one in the pushchair. They were all dressed as minions. Like, people went all out for this. It was great. And there was one house actually that had a glass fronted door, and the door was closed, but there was a cat on the inside. I think it was a kitten. It was very small. I was just like standing up by this door, looking around, watching all these people going past outside. It was just like so confused, had no idea what was going on, this poor thing. But he was just like staring at everything, and it was just really sweet. Yeah, and then we went to a speakeasy afterwards for cocktails for the rest of the night. We actually had such a large group that we pretty much booked out the whole place to ourselves. So that was fun. That was really good fun. And Sunday morning we had brunch with everyone as a group, nursing those hangovers for those who had a bit too much to drink. And yeah, and then after brunch we had some free time. Perry had some coursework that he had to finish up, so he went back to the house to study. And I headed into town to Fiberspace, and I met up with, like I mentioned earlier, I met up with Emily of Fibertown, Tanya of The Sampler Girl and her mum Lucy, and then Julia and Lara, who are viewers of the podcast and who I've chatted with on Instagram and Ravelry, they also came along too. So that was so much fun. And like I said, I've got some footage of this at the end. And Emily brought her little French bulldog Alice with her. And I was so happy she brought Alice, because I've watched her podcasts, obviously, and Alice is just like the little ball of energy and so cute. She was so excited to be there. She was just all over the place. She's literally a spring. She's just bouncing around left, right and centre, just so excited to see everything, and she just constantly wanted to lick everybody. Emily's got a little tag on her collar which says, if you are reading this, I will lick you. And it is so true, because if you get that close to Alice, she will be licking you. And it was just so much fun getting to hang out with them, getting to chat and just sit and knit and chat and browse and buy lots of lovely yarn, which I will show you next week. But it was just so much fun. I had such a good time. It was really relaxing, just really nice, and yeah, it was really good fun. And then later in the afternoon, after that, I went with Tanya and Lucy to their friend's house, Nancy, like I mentioned. I met Nancy and Lucy in London a few months ago, and we had lunch at Nancy's, and a couple of their other friends, who they kind of have their own little knitting circle, had met up, had come along as well, and we had some lunch and chatted again some more there. Nancy does some beautiful cross stitch. Like, her wall in her living room is covered in all these beautiful samplers that she's made. It's just incredible. And yes, that was really good fun. And then Tanya took me home, and yeah, Tanya dropped me back off afterwards, and that was a really lovely day, really lovely day, and I had a lot of fun. And honestly, I wish I could have just spent more time with those ladies, and just just really good. I do miss not having that sort of not being that close to a lot of knitting friends and stuff where I am. So when I do come over to the US or back to the UK and have the opportunity to meet up with some lovely people who enjoy knitting as much as I do, is always a great experience. And then Monday was our only proper day going into DC, actual DC area. And we started out at the Bureau of Printing and Engraving, where they print all the US currency, or some of the US currency there. That was interesting to learn about the process of that. And then we went to the US Capitol. We walked from the Bureau to the US Capitol, which was quite a decent walk. So it was all pretty much from the Washington Memorial all the way up to US Capitol. And we were going to go in, and I saw they had a sign at the front that just said all the things that you're not allowed to take in. And it was like knives, guns, food, blah, 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 sharp objects. And then as an example of sharp objects, the first thing they'd written was knitting needles. So I'd taken my knitting with me, and I didn't want to take the risk of trying to go through, holding up the whole group, because there was over 25 of us there, holding up the whole group and then trying to argue with them to let me in with my knitting needles, and only for them to take them away from me. I didn't want to run the risk of that. So I just sat outside and I waited for them. It took an hour and a half for them to do the tour. And so I got plenty of knitting done, which was great. I had a couple of people come up to me, asking me what I was working on, and a couple of other knitters as well. So that was interesting. I saw another group of people get turned away because one of them had a salmon with them. Literally like a whole salmon in a bag. He must have just bought it from somewhere nearby. So they wouldn't let him in, which was quite random. Yeah, so I was surprised that I wasn't allowed in with my knitting needles, but anyway, like I said, I didn't want to hold everyone else up because of that, so I waited outside, and that was fine. They went for their tour and they came out, and then we had to hurry over to get to the Pentagon in time. So we got to the Pentagon. I'm going through security to get in there, and they had no issues with my knitting needles. That went through the scanners, and the guy looked at my stuff going through and was just like, yep, that's fine, you can go. And I was just like, really? They had an issue with my knitting needles at the Capitol, but the Pentagon, they're fine. So you know, US Capitol, no knitting. Pentagon, fine with knitting. Who'd have thought it? Anyway, so we went in and we were waiting to see if we could join the tour, and at that point we realised we were 5 minutes late. And it turns out the people at the Pentagon, they're a bit of a stickler for being on time. They wouldn't let us join the tour, even though we were only 5 minutes late. Dave, who was organising all this, he tried really hard to get them to let us onto the tour, even though it was literally a few minutes late. And no, they weren't having any of it. And so yeah, so we just got to see the initial like entrance area of the Pentagon, and then had to leave again. So anyway, that didn't work out, but it was okay. It was still good fun. And then we were originally supposed to do a tour of the White House on Saturday morning, but that got cancelled because I don't know, they weren't doing tours that day or something, and there wasn't another day whilst we were there that it could be organised for, so we didn't do that either. And that pretty much sums up the time that we had in DC. We did a few other things as well, but those were the main things. And then on Tuesday, Perry had his train up to New York, and I was taking a flight up to Boston. My flight was slightly later in the afternoon because I was trying to arrive at a time that was going to be convenient for my family, for someone to be able to pick me up from the airport. And my flight ended up being a bit delayed, which turned out to be a good thing, because it meant I just didn't have to wait that long on the other end. And then my cousin's son picked me up at the airport, took me back to their home, and my cousin doesn't actually live in Boston, in the city. He lives about half an hour, 45 minutes out of the city, literally out in the countryside. His home is like in the middle of a forest. It is so beautiful there. It's a really lovely area. And just to give you some context, my cousin is actually quite a bit older than me. He's very close in age to my mum, who's only a few years younger, and his kids are 27 and 23, so I am much closer in age to my cousin's children than I am to my cousin, but just thought I'd put it out there. So this cousin is actually is the son of my mum's oldest sister, so she's the oldest of all the children, so her kids are actually a very similar age to my mum. So yeah. Anyway, so the first proper morning I was there, I went for a walk with my cousin's wife, and she goes for a walk 2 or 3 mornings a week around their local area for about an hour or so. So I went with her that morning, and she normally says, you know, she usually when she's on her own just stays on the roads. She doesn't go off on they have like loads of trails around where they are. She says she doesn't do the trails if she's on her own in case something happens, but she stays on the main roads. So that's what I thought we were going to do. So we went on the way out, we did the whole way on the main roads, and it was just so beautiful, and I took quite a lot of pictures and stuff, and it was just so lovely, and I'll do a blog post about it at some point. But then she took me on some trails on the way back, and we got a little bit lost trying to figure out how to get back. Not how to get back, we knew where we were, it was more trying to pick the right like fork in the trail when we got to a junction or something to figure out which is the best way to get back quickest, because she had to go to work, and she was getting a bit late. Anyway, we made it back in time, and she managed to get to work on time, and it was all fine. And my cousin took the day off that day, So he worked from home for a little bit, and then he took me out later in the morning. We drove around to some of the nice areas near where they live, and that was really nice. And then we got to go see the new James Bond film later in the evening. My cousin had been invited to some like special screening of the film. So me, him and his son, the three of us went to see the film, and that was really good fun. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, so if you're into James Bond and you like that sort of film, make sure you check it out. And then what else did we do? Yes, and then on, what day was it then? Thursday. I'm losing track of what days I'm talking about now. On Thursday, I was at home. I was at home in the morning at my cousin's house, and he had to work in the morning, but he got home early around lunchtime, and his wife was working a half day anyway, so they both sort of got home about the same sort of time as each other. And I was home in the morning, and he was like, oh, you should go for a walk and stuff. And so I did. I went to go for a walk, and their house is quite cold. So when I came downstairs and it was quite cold, I was like, okay, I'll go grab my cardigan, and I'll grab my coat and my shawl, and I'll go for a walk. And I put everything on, and I stepped outside, and I was just like, nah. I turned around, went back in and took everything off, and then went out again. It was hotter outside than it was in their house, which is insane. And even they were saying the weather they've got at the moment is just ridiculously warm for the time of year it is. And it's just really, really strange. But it was beautiful. Sorry, I had to cut there quickly because I sneezed. Yeah, so the weather was beautiful around where they were. The leaves were still turning. It was sort of like towards the end of the changing of the leaves, like a lot of the leaves had fallen and stuff, but we had a lot of fun crunching. I had a lot of fun as well, crunching through the leaves, the fallen leaves, which is something I really love doing. And yeah, and then later in the afternoon we drove into Boston and met up with my cousin's daughter, who's studying at Boston University, and she lives in the dorms down there. And so we met up with her. We went to Boston Common and enjoyed sort of like looking around there. There were so many squirrels in Boston Common. It was insane. I had never seen so many squirrels in one place ever. They were everywhere, and they were all like proper little chubby squirrels. And there was one who was so sweet. He was just digging around in this flower bed, and I'm pretty determined that he'd either buried something there or that there was something in the soil that he wanted. And he was just like, I know it's in there somewhere, and just kept digging. He had mud all over his face. It was just so sweet. Anyway, we had dinner in Boston and before heading back later in the evening. And so that was sort of like my 2 days in Boston. I kind of assumed, I actually didn't really think about it much. I didn't really plan anything before I went. I assumed that my cousin and his wife were going to be working during the days, and I thought during the day, you know, someone would drop me off near one of the train stations, and I would go into Boston for the day and then come back and spend the evening with my family. But I hadn't expected them to only be working half days or to take a day off or anything like that. So I didn't get to do anything on my own, which is perfectly fine because I went there to spend time with my family. I only assumed I would have time on my own because I thought they would all be at work, which isn't what happened. But that was fine. I'm trying to see what else, if there was anything else I wanted to mention here. Yeah, and then yesterday morning, my cousin's son dropped me off at the airport on his way to work, and got the flight up to New York, got into Manhattan, got into the hotel room, no issues, thankfully. I wasn't sure if they would give me a key or something because I wasn't here when Perry first checked in, but there was no problem. I just showed them ID, and Perry had told them that I was coming, so they were expecting me, which was good. Got in, got settled, charged up my phone, and sort of got myself a bit situated, and then I headed out for the day. And like I said, I walked down to B&J Fabrics, which is about 10 blocks from here, and explored around there for a bit. That was really, really fun shop to look around. And then carried on walking down to the City Quilter, which is a beautiful shop, and actually I have to say it's probably my favourite fabric shop in Manhattan. I popped into a couple of other ones whilst I was walking down there as I came across them, and none of them really, they weren't great for what I was looking for. A lot of them did like home upholstery fabrics, which were much heavier weight than what I was looking for, or you know, they did strictly garment style fabrics, so not really much cotton. There was one shop I went past which did entirely, like only sold spandex. Only sold spandex. One store, literally the brightest, most gorgeous, shiny colours that you could think of, this store had. It was insane. I was just like, okay then. Could you imagine? Anyway, so I had a really good day yesterday. I got back in the late afternoon. I picked up some food. I sort of spent the evening in the hotel room, catching up on podcasts, casting on all my projects, and waiting for Perry to get back. He got back at around, I think it was about 8:30, 9ish, and he studied for another hour or so after he got home. Got to the hotel room, and then he called it a night. He was really knackered. I could totally see it on his face. He was just so tired. So we went to bed. I was actually really lucky that this hotel room that we got this time has 2 beds in it, although the beds are smaller, just because my knitting has just taken over this bed. If I could show you, you'd see. Yeah, and so today Perry woke me up at 5:30 this morning. Actually, no, I lie. His alarm woke me up at 4:30 because he set it incorrectly. Then he woke up at 5:30 because he wanted to go into uni really early because he has an exam this morning that he wanted to study for. His exam hasn't even started yet. It starts in 20 minutes. So I got up and I got ready to walk it, and I walked with him up to the train station, and then I picked up a coffee and some breakfast and headed back to the hotel room. And it's 20 to 9 now, and I started recording a little over an hour ago, so I had some breakfast, sort of got myself sorted a bit, and then recorded this. And now I have a little less than, I have about an hour to get some editing done and get some, write up my show notes and stuff and get that ready before I have to leave. And I am meeting up with some really lovely ladies today, which is another really fun day out, Knitter's Day Out, Nitty Field Trip, as Kristen called it. So I'm meeting up with Kristen from the Vine Yarns and Yarngasm podcast, Jenny from Tiny Paper Foxes, Carleen from the Made with Carleenergy podcast, Tonya from the Knitting Spring podcast, and I'm actually meeting up with Tonya in Manhattan because she lives in Manhattan, and we're going to head over together. I'm also meeting up with, I'm trying to make sure I don't forget anyone. Those are the only podcasters that I'm meeting up with, I believe, and there are a couple of other people who are coming who I know of, who are viewers of the podcast and who I've chatted with online and stuff. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to catching up with everyone. Most of these ladies I met last time I was here, so that would be, and I hadn't met Carleen. Carleen was busy and couldn't make it last time I was in New York, so I'm really glad I get to meet her this time. And like I said, Kristen dubbed this our Knitty Field Trip, because we're going to be meeting up at Gauge Intention. They have a Plucky Knitter trunk show, which is going to be very dangerous, because everyone loves their Plucky Knitter apparently, and I've never used Plucky Knitter, so I'm looking forward to that. Yay, I'm really excited. And I have my bag of minis to take along with me and trade with anyone else who has minis to trade. And yeah, I'm just so looking forward to it. It's going to be a really fun day. We're starting out at Gauge Intention because even though there's a trunk show and it's probably going to be really busy, their space is actually quite large and they have a lot of tables and stuff. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to just settle down there for a bit and sit and knit and chat for a while, and then probably later head down to Argyle Yarn Shop, which I think is near Prospect Park, another part of Brooklyn. And they, I believe, are the only sellers of Quince & Co. in New York, so that should be fun. I'm looking forward to checking that out. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a really fun day out. I'm really looking forward to catching up with all these ladies, and I think that pretty much ends this episode. I don't really have that much more to share with you guys, and yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this week. I am so sorry for the shaky camera. I really hope it's not too distracting or makes you feel sick. I am going to go now, get going with this editing, and remember to stay tuned to see the video clips that I've added on to the end here for you all. Alright, so thank you so much, and I hope to chat to you guys again next week when I'm back home in Bahrain. Alright, take care. Bye.
but after all day here at the shop doing it, I was like, that course, oh, nice.
I like subscribe like through Knit Crate like for their newbies, and this is like one of the projects for it.
Look at this. Look at that.
So like hardcore into it means like several hours of recharge time. Like
You're not a newbie.
I need to learn how to block them.
I know. Took a bath.
Yeah, you can make
Mine is
so
just hot water.
Yeah.
It's not.
Hi.
Tell us when you're done. Like this, say like this is for this is for my insurance. That way
She'll do some tricks. Ow, sit down.
Right. Okay. That's the way to do it. And if there's a pattern involved, it'll tell you whether or not you twirl.
Can you speak?
Yeah. If it just says
Speak.
you need a copy of the pattern, and it's not included.
That's it. Awesome.
Okay, but I could probably get any pattern here.
Yeah, here in some form or fashion. Yeah.
Oh yes, no Alice.
You're at Fibertown. Yes, I am. I watched. I just started your podcast. I was like, wait.
Yep.
Got it. Really universal. It's like a runway.
And then when you get that,
Hello.
attention now. Cancel for Friday?
Yes. And then there'll be a green trace right there. Hello. Oh my goodness. She literally is like spring. Look at I am fascinated.
I wish I could do that.
Stay.
You're definitely